Podcast Network Asia.
It consumes too much gasoline. It probably emits way too much dangerous emissions out there. But damn, I want one. Hey folks, this is Caco
And this is Jinno Rufino.
You are listening to Torque of the Town. It is the end of the year. Now, to a lot of people, that's like, yay, yahoo, we're done. To Jinno and I, it's like, it's a little bit different because we now have to talk about a topic that kind of haunts us from the very beginning of the year, really. And we're going to be talking about our top 5 favorite drives and or rides for the year of 2020. Now, a lot of people might say that that's actually easy, but to us, it's actually easier said than done because we do go over a lot of vehicles and motorcycles over the couple of months that we're doing this, and it's very difficult to pin it down to the top 5. Jinno and I are actually talking about going to top 10, but then we wanted to be concise and really put our challenge to each other out there and keep it as a top 5 cars and a top 5 rides.
Yeah, and we also decided that there are going to be honorable mentions.
Yes, they will be.
And that we are not ranking them. We are just talking about our favorite top rides and top drives of 2020.
Yes, and the beauty about this is that since Jinno is very well versed in cars and I dabble a little bit in motorcycles, we can banter off each other and see whether that person is actually right or wrong. Meaning, I'm going to be right and Jinno will always be wrong. That's exactly what we're getting at. So I'm going to start it off. This is, of course, the top 5 favorite drives and rides of 2020, and I'm going to start off with an easy one.
Okay.
This is an easy car for me because a couple of years back I said the dark horse of the field was going to be the Vitara, and then a year after that the dark horse of the field, I called it again, it was going to be the MGZS. And this year, this 2020, I believe it, and I understand why it's so popular out there. So I'm going to name it as one of my top 5 drives. Is going to be the Geely Coolray.
Oh wow!
Now I know a lot of people out there going, what?
Wait, hold on.
Chinese car?
This is not even honorable mention. This is in your top 5.
This is in my top 5, dude.
Okay.
The Geely Coolray, because it is just absolutely surprising. You get inside the car, and the thought of it being a Chinese car is not even there. You have to remind yourself, wait, this is a Chinese car? Because you get in there and it's just a car. You have got into an automobile so many times before and you never actually thought to yourself, oh, this is made by this brand or this is made by... You just get in and think to yourself, yeah, it's a proper car. And when you get inside the Coolray, it's exactly that. It's just a proper automobile. Fit and finish is great. The ride is great. The power from a 3-cylinder is pretty darn good. A lot of people might still be upset because of the stigma of China and everything, but still, it's a great car.
Is Gretchen Hall in the car?
No, but if she were in that car, then I'd say that we should rank this from 1 to 5, and that would be number 1. But since she's not, I'm going to leave it as one of my top 5.
Ooh, okay. So, there's a stigma, right?
Yes, there
with
is.
China products.
Yeah,
be it bikes, be it cars, heck, even your phone or whatever. Because I haven't been inside a Geely. I haven't tried one.
Oh, you gotta, man.
And it's something that, like, the MG, like, I don't see it as that anymore with some of the cars and bikes out there.
Okay.
Like, I don't think there's I don't understand why there is that stigma. But why do you think that people will always bring China car yan, China bike yan? Why do you think that is?
I think from experience, I know of 2 things that I can say. Number 1 is because we're all used to some products that we did say, for example, import from China, and we know that sometimes they can be of substandard quality.
Sure.
They break easily, they're disposable and whatnot. So we're all used to that, whether it be plastic plates to toys and whatnot.
But I'll say this, right?
Yeah.
But there are bikes out there, speaking from the bike's perspective, that have, like, let's say a BMW. They have some of these bikes are built in Germany, but there's parts there from China.
Yes, correct.
But BMW in Germany of course, had it made in China because it's a little bit it's cheaper, so they can keep the production cost low. And then it's shipped to Germany and it's built. It's still put in their bikes there. So like, if they trust them,
then why can't we?
yeah.
That's true. The other half of my argument why people may have that stigma is because we have had experience with Chinese cars in the Philippines before, and the experience wasn't really the best
Sure.
on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, there was this car called the QQ.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Medyo cute nga.
Cute.
Yeah, QQ. Cute.
Pero sarap i-drop kick, di ba?
And I was part of this, this, I guess, committee or whatever you want to call it, of media people that were testing these cars for Car of the Year award.
Okay, quite some time ago.
Quite some time ago.
Yeah.
And I remember I was testing the QQ and I stepped on the brakes and I was like, okay, it's not stopping. I mean, this is a tiny little car. Stop! And it did not, like, it was taking so long to stop. Like, it was an 18-wheeler or something. It just, it took forever. I'm like, oh my God. Stop,
I'm
stop,
gonna
stop,
die.
stop, stop, stop.
I'm going to die.
Like, Fred Flintstone would have an easier time stopping his car than the QQ.
See, it's stuff like that. And the other thing also is before, when you get into a Chinese car, the fit and finish wasn't anything great. It would feel very plasticky, very hard plasticky, and there was a smell from the glue that they used to use. No, not that kind of a smell, you idiot. The glue that they used to use, it was like industrial grade, no sé qué what, man, because the smell would stay inside the car. So it's these small stigmas, including the QQ that you just mentioned, and the problems of it, is why people may have had the problems in the past and still do till today.
Yeah, but I think we've reached that time that stigma should not be there anymore because they have definitely caught up.
That's true, but dude, there's still racism around the planet, and we're still trying to get rid of that, man. Let's do one thing first.
So do you think that problem in society kind of translate in the way we look at cars and bikes? And either other stuff as well. But since specifically in Talk of the Town, we're talking about cars and bikes.
You know, it's gotta be as well. But then, you know, the consumer also has, if they have a stigma to Chinese cars, it's because not all Chinese cars are really up to par. I gotta say that you've been on Chinese motorcycles. I've been in other Chinese cars, and there are cars that will surpass your expectations or at the very least meet them. And then there are some that are really subpar. And unfortunately, it's those type of things that will, you know, feed the ongoing stigma.
Yeah.
Right?
So like the one bad apple ruins the entire batch.
Pretty much.
Yeah. No, I get it. But I'm just surprised because you've driven maybe twice the amount, maybe 3 times the amount of cars that I've ridden in 2020.
Yeah.
And I'm actually just surprised. I have nothing. I have no opinion about Geely at all because I have never tried it. But I'm just surprised that it landed in your top 5.
It did. It's because of the whole package of the automobile.
Okay.
It's just
This budget is part of that.
budget is part of it. Yes, it's extremely affordable.
When I say budget, I don't mean cheap. I mean like,
No.
It's
Value for
loaded.
money.
Value for money.
Value for money. The fit and finish is great. The look is pretty darn good. The engine's great. It's still too early to tell about after sales and whatnot. It's still too early. I mean, we're talking about 12 months at the very most, right? Because GD would launch one car every 6 months, and they've done the Coolray, then they did the Ascara, and then finally the Okavango that just recently. What do you call this? So really, it's still too early, but you can tell that they've got a lot of structure. They got a lot of money. They own Volvo.
Yeah.
Right? So there's that, and the fact that if you're surprised that it landed in my top 5, oddly enough, I'm not that surprised.
Really?
Because it's a very popular car. But enough about automobiles. Let's move on to 2 wheels. I want to hear one of your top 5
So
picks.
top 5, not honorable mention.
Oh, you can do honor. It's your show, bro.
I'll start opposite. I'll go with the honorable mention first.
Okay.
One of my honorable mentions that I was kind of debating whether it should land in the top 5 or not, but I decided not to because I know you are a scooter guy,
Yes, I am.
but I'm not.
Oh,
Like I I'm just more of a motorcycle guy. I'm more of a bike guy.
This guy's
than,
racist.
than a scooter. There's nothing about the any racist or not, right? I just find it a little too cute.
Mata pobre.
No, because the bike I'm about to choose is even more expensive than the bikes that I've put inside.
Yeah.
The top 5. Some of them are cheaper than these scooters.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, the Vespa Sprint 150 would be my honorable mention.
Honorable mention.
Yeah, because to me, a scooter is specifically what you use it for.
Yeah.
To go from home to work, basically ride around the city.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Do errands on.
Yeah.
Get you from point A to point B. Stuff like that. Daily. It's your daily commute.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
But I prefer to use a maybe smaller displacement bike over a scooter, just because of the forma factor of it.
Dude, the weird thing is that you actually mentioned a Sprint, right? That's a 150.
Yeah.
You're gonna tell me that is your honorable mention?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have a GTS, a 300 GTS in that list?
I chose the Sprint over the 300.
No way. Why?
Because
why?
Specifically because of that. Because I prefer to use a scooter, if I'm going to use a scooter, to ride around the city, to go to work, to go to... Well, it's not like we can all hang out in our friends' places right now, but the ease in traffic, the ease to maneuver it through the city streets.
But the GTS is so pretty.
It is pretty. It's a great bike. It's just a little bit on the pricey side for me, for what it is.
Oh,
okay. If I were to spend that amount of money, I would rather get a bike that I can get on the expressway with.
Well, truth be told, if you're going to spend that much money, then you wouldn't get a Vespa in total, right? Because they're a little bit on the pricey side.
They are on the pricey side, but that's why I went with the more affordable Vespa that I tried this year, which is the Sprint, the 150.
Okay.
I haven't tried the 125 this year, so I mean that might win over the 150 specifically
Really?
because of the price. And with the Sprint 150, it's just over $200,000. It's a little on the pricey side still.
Jeez.
Yeah, and that's why I can't put it in the top 5.
I never realized just exactly how expensive that they've gotten. I remember Vespa started off at like 120, 125.
Well,
now you're talking about 200
The
grand?
125 is in the 140 range. So it's kind of in the NMAX vicinity. NMAX, like the price of the NMAX. But because I haven't tried that yet, that's why I think I would put that ahead of the Sprint. I have to go with the more affordable one, specifically because the 300 is too expensive for me.
Okay.
And I would use it for the same thing. And you know what I mean? So I would just ride around the city.
Yeah.
And it's not like I need 300 cc's to go from Makati to Ortigas.
And you still won't be able to take it out on the highway because it's only 300 cc.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
it's
I can go to
pointless.
Marilake with it,
Yeah, that's true.
which is fun. I've done it. But I can do that same sort of maybe lack of power in Marilake, but you don't really want that much power in Marilake on a scooter,
Yeah.
right? So I that's why it was a hard choice, but when I thought about it a little bit more, I went with the 150 over the 300, specifically because of the price.
This is a special mention, not one of your
This is
top.
one of the special mentions.
This is the special mention,
Because
okay.
I'm putting the scooters outside of the top 5 specifically only because I'm more of a motorcycle person than I am a scooter guy.
Okay.
And it's, Vespa, they're adorable. Granted.
Yeah.
They look good. They're fairly reliable. They're, you're buying into the whole lifestyle of the Vespa. Right?
Okay.
It's history. It's
Yes,
heritage,
very much so,
and
yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
It's a wasp.
And you're also buying into the community because there's a big Vespa community in the Philippines that once you get a Vespa, you're kind of part of.
I'm kind of like the loneliest Vespa person
probably
on the planet.
are. You probably are.
I'm not part of any groups. I don't
No.
do any rides. I just, nope, not me.
Yeah. I mean, but that's totally fine, right?
Yeah.
And that's 100% okay. But a lot of the times, people would buy a Vespa also because of that, because they're buying into
The camaraderie, so to speak. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, the whole lifestyle surrounding that brand, and it's just that when I think about a scooter, I don't think about performance. People always say, yeah, but the performance of the NMAX, the performance of the Honda ADV 150 and all that kind of stuff
It's a scooter.
will outperform the Vespa. I'm like, yeah, so? I'm not trying to win a race with this thing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get from point A to point B
in style.
Yeah. Like, if you ask me what looks better, the premium scooters of the Japanese brands versus the Vespa, I choose the Vespa.
Yes.
Right?
I agree completely.
And yeah, so that's why it lands in my honorable mentions, but did not make the top 5 specifically because it's a scooter.
Okay, speaking of honorable mention, I too do have some honorable mentions on my list. And the first honorable mention would be, I gotta say, I'm gonna go with the Ford Territory. Oddly enough, when I discussed this list with Jack, he was like, dude, you're gonna put the Coolray on your top 5 list, but you're gonna put the Territory on your honorable mention. Why? And I told him it's because, well, I've got the Coolray already on my list, and I don't think that I need the Territory on that same list. Although they're they're a lot similar. But I feel as if that I'm good with the Coolray, so the Territory will remain on my honorable mention. And in place of that honorable mention, making it to my list, would be the Ford F-150.
Ooh.
That sucker is just a beast.
That's like a throwback to the early 2000s.
It's a unit, man. that silly car. It's the fact that it's got such a massive engine. It's not diesel. It's a gas guzzler.
Yeah.
That thing drinks gasoline with a straw, man.
Yeah.
And it's basically an expedition with a trunk, and then it's also responsible for hitting Jack with a golf ball. You know, there's nothing to hate about this particular car, except for the fact that it just is way too big. This car in the Philippines shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be here. It occupies too many cubic feet of space on the road. It consumes too much gasoline. It probably emits way too much dangerous emissions out there. But damn, I want one. I seriously want one of these cars, man. The F-150.
I'm just trying to imagine you in an F-150.
It's like an ant riding an apple, man. It's ridiculous. Or an orange on top of a toothpick. It's ridiculous. It's me. It's oddly enough my mom's favorite car when we were growing up. We didn't have an F-150. We had a Ram.
Yeah, okay.
That was one of her favorite automobiles, the Ram, because my mom, who's like 4'11" and 3/4 of an inch tall,
She drove a Ram.
she drove a Ram.
Oh, wow.
Right? And the funny thing is, when she'd get out of the car and she'd walk by the hood, you still couldn't see her because she'd be shorter than the hood. But I guess it's like shorter people are like ourselves, like Jinno mentions that we have Napoleon complexes. It's nice to drive these big automobiles. That it's like when you're going down the road, it seems like there's a wake, going to the side.
So you're totally trying to, you're not trying to make up for anything on the small side.
I will subject myself to an inspection right now if need be. No, but basically no. It's just it's a great big car that it's utilitarian, and there's no point to it. There's absolutely no point to this car in the Philippines. But you look at it and damn it, I want one of those. It's like walking in the mall and then seeing the sword of what's his name?
Who? Lionel?
No, not
Voltron.
No, not a cartoon. But yeah, those swords are pretty nice. No, it's like seeing the sword of William Wallace.
Okay.
It's like 10 feet long, and you there's nothing that you can do with that sword, but you just want it, and you want to mount it on your wall. In the same way with the F-150, you're gonna use it every once in a while. It's not like the sword that you're gonna mount it on the wall, but you want it. You want to keep it in your garage because it's like a tank, man.
How difficult was it to park that thing in like a mall? In a mall parking.
I never went to a mall with it, but I know that if you did, then it would be very, very difficult. But maneuvering it in the city in light traffic, not heavy traffic, it was doable. It wasn't like break your neck kind of like stretch kind of a thing.
Did people move out of the way when they saw it?
I'm a very courteous driver.
Yeah.
So I don't drive like Gino Rufino on the road. I don't like throw my weight around.
I don't throw my weight around.
But yeah, people did move.
Yeah, I'm sure. Because if I'm on a bike and I saw that thing like coming up to me, I'm moving out of the way.
Regardless of how big your bike is, man.
Dude, like that's
because I can come up to you and say, dude, I can put your bike
on the back.
on the back, man. And it's got a power tailgate and everything. So it's like I said, it's not a car that you really need, and it's definitely not going to be your first or second or even your third car, but as your fourth or fifth car, as a toy, as just something to say, man, this is mine. Yeah.
So if you want to like bring your yacht to Manila Bay, to Punta Fuego, or wherever you can do that.
Yeah,
with that thing.
That's right. That's exactly what it is. So that's why, as much as I love the Territory, I'm gonna keep the Territory as my honorable mention, and I'm going to select the Ford F-150 as one of my top 5 favorite drives of the year.
This shows how differently our minds work, right? Like the Vespa would be one of the most practical scooters that I've ridden in 2020.
I would assume, yeah, it's got to be.
And because of that reason, I'm putting it out of the top 5.
That's true.
And then your F-150 is the most impractical car, I suppose.
But it's in my top 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know that this list might not be the best consumer advice list ever. You might want to stick to, I don't know.
Go to the website, AutoDeal.com and AutoDeal.com, because there's a little bit more concise write-ups and videos there that you guys can make your own decisions. These are our decisions, and we're not trying to put it on anybody. It's just, this is what we prefer.
So basically, people are going to understand that this is Gino's choice and Caco's choice, and they're going to look at it and go, these choices are crap. And then they're going to go to the website and say, oh, this is Jack's choice and Earl's choice. Yeah, that makes sense.
No. Because what they would do, they would go on the website and of AutoDeal and MotoDeal, and they would make the judgment from themselves by all the content that we put out.
That's
whether
true.
It's the articles, the videos, the reviews, stuff like that.
I'll give that segue about a 3.5 out of 5. That wasn't bad. That really wasn't bad at all. Speaking of segue, why don't we move on to Gino's choices back again?
So I still have one more honorable mention before
you do?
I get into my top 5.
Okay.
And the reason why this lands out of the top 5 is only because actually it was difficult. I was trying to squeeze it into the top 5, but I couldn't.
Yeah. Reason?
Reason being because I just prefer the bikes in there over this one.
Okay.
Yeah. And this bike is, in my opinion, the best value for money big bike in the Philippines.
Interesting. Okay.
It has very nice history. The brand has very nice history. In fact, the brand is the longest running motorcycle brand in the world that never stopped manufacturing bikes, even during the war. The wars, you can say.
That's not Harley.
They moved, no, definitely not. They moved from the UK to India, and they're now proudly Indian made.
Oh, okay.
And then they've moved some of their factories and their offices back to the UK, so they're both UK/Indian made, but it's an Indian company now, right?
Yeah.
With UK roots.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when I eat Indian food in the UK, I'm told that it's better tasting than it was in India. So I don't know if there's cause and effect or anything like that, but it's a brand that that I would say is very chill, right? These bikes are super chill, but I love the styling because it's classic, and as the old saying goes, classic never goes out of style.
Yeah.
It's practical. It's easy to use. I've had friends who just started riding this year, and this is the bike that they got. So it's very beginner friendly.
Okay.
It's very lolo friendly. Maybe titos want a little bit more action, want a little bit more power, and the cost of maintaining them is fairly low, and you can actually ride the Philippine loop with them. It's it's an easy ride. Put it that way.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the Royal Enfield Interceptor.
Interceptor.
Yeah. So I love the bike. I almost bought one.
Really?
Yeah, I almost bought one this year.
Cool.
Because it's great value.
Oh,
Really,
yeah.
really good value for the bike that it is.
It's a 650, right?
It's a 650 twins. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's a nice. It sounds great. Like and it has become a favorite for people who customize bikes.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Thumper engine.
yeah, but it's just a beautiful sounding engine. It's beautiful machine with a lot of history, right?
Yeah.
And it has one of these things that for me, like it's a draw. It agrees with me. Put it that way.
Yeah.
I sit in the bike, and I feel okay. This feels right. There are other bikes that I feel like, oh my god, it's too tall. Oh my god, it's too low. Oh my god, the foot pegs are very uncomfortable.
Dude, that's the story of my life.
But this one, you're like, this feels very natural, very, very chill, very. I mean, the brakes could use a little bit of work.
Yeah, because it's drum up front, right?
Yeah. So, but that's common for a lot of bikes in that price range. But it has ABS not in the back, which is more important. In the front, drum in the back. That's it.
It's I'm looking at we can't show
it, yeah.
anyone, but I'm looking at a picture of the Interceptor right now. It's the orange one, it speaks to you, and it looks. The seat is very flat. Do you ride this sort of like what do you call it? A cafe racer? Is it more of
You
that?
can convert it to a cafe race. The Continental GT, which is the same engine.
Yeah.
Just basically dressed up a little bit differently. Has a different looking tank. The seat's a little bit shorter. It has a cowl in the back, or it can come with a cowl in the back.
Oh, dude, I
And
was
the foot
wrong.
pegs are behind.
The front brakes aren't drums.
It's not.
They're discs.
They're disc.
So the discs up front and in the back, and the brakes are still kind of
kulang pa din.
kulang.
Yeah, vibrate.
How
brakes.
fast do you travel?
No. Even if you're traveling, let's say 80 kilometers per hour, right? Maybe 60, and then sudden stop is like something darts out in front of you.
Yeah.
You want to be able to stop. You want to be able to have the confidence to stop. I don't know. Maybe I'm just used to brakes that bite a little bit more.
I guess because this bike doesn't look like it's built to be like a turn
not.
on a dime.
It's not.
Stop on a hair.
Yeah.
Kind
So
of thing.
I admittedly have taken the sister or brother, the sibling of that, the Continental GT. I'd say a little bit on the fast side, and
That's a nice way of saying I went over the speed limit by like twice.
and you can tell it can get there, but it doesn't want to be there that long.
It gets tired. It gets loud.
It gets tired. Like you're like, okay, stop it already. I'm okay here, but let's go back down. And so you bring it back down, and then it likes to cruise. And
okay.
yeah, if you want a bike that's just chill that you can learn on, it's a little bit heavy for some beginners maybe.
Yeah, 650 would be heavy.
Yeah, but it's just because it's all steel. It's all like super. I say it every RE review. It's built like a gun because that's their tagline, and it's really that's what it feels like.
Built like a gun.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. If some people out there might want to know, everybody knows that I'm under tall, but if you are on the Interceptor, which is a 650, how tall are you? About 5'7", 5'8"?
Yeah, somewhere there.
Somewhere there. Okay. And when you are on the Interceptor, when you straddle it, are you flat-footed?
Almost flat foot.
Okay, so
But
that's good info right there for anybody that's interested in the Interceptor.
And I think that's why it feels very natural to sit on the bike. This bike, because there are other bikes that I prefer that are the seating position's a little bit aggressive. You can feel the weight a little bit more on the wrists and all that kind of stuff. This one you don't. It's very, very, and it's very smooth. It's very chill. But maybe that's why it didn't make my top 5 because it's a little bit too chill for me right now.
Okay.
Like I prefer bikes that have either more affordable or even though there's great value. It's a bike that I can take riding around in the city, and I can also take on an expressway. Yeah,
That's true. Yes, it is.
I can take this bike to and from work, and then if I decide, I want to go to Baguio,
Kaya.
kaya.
It's a Tito question. Kaya ba ng Baguio yan? Kaya.
So that's why it was hard for me to leave it out of the top 5. But I think when I discuss the top 5, you'll understand why.
Okay. I'm going to move on to another one of my last, I think, of my... Well, I still have a few, but another special mention that I have. A special mention, believe it or not, is the Nissan 370Z. Now, Jack's looking at me like I'm really weird for putting the Nissan 370Z as my special mention instead of top part of my top 5 list. Now, why it's even up there, it's because when you drive this car, Jinno, I never joined you for the Toyota Vios Cup.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that the way that you speak about it, the way that, let's say, Mark Sung speaks about it, Sam speaks about it, and whatnot, it's not a Mickey Mouse kind of a thing. I mean, you're in there, you're competing, you got to learn the track, you got to learn how to drive, you got to learn your braking points and whatnot. So the car, I'm assuming, is also very, very basic. It's a steering wheel. It's an engine. It's a stripped down automobile.
Super stripped down, yeah.
Super stripped down. Your tires are as grippy as possible when you put heat in them, and your brakes, well, they're standard brakes, so you got to take care of them at the very least.
But we're also we were sponsored by Brembo.
By Francis Aguilera. So thanks for that. But with the Nissan 370Z, it's I guess it's the closest that I will ever get to you guys being such, in a race suit and whatnot. Because when you get inside the 370Z, it's a little bit on the expensive side, but it is just so, like it brings you back to when everything, it's still an automatic, but it brings you back to, it's just a steering wheel and a gas pedal, and there aren't a lot of mechanical or rather electronic devices that help you out inside the car.
Driving it.
It's the way that we described it in the video is that it's still very much a visceral driving experience. It's a crunching. It's a crunching of the turn kind of a thing. As there are other cars where, when you turn, you sort of like allow the car to take you with you. With the Z, it's sort of like you feel as if that you still want to lean into the turn with your body, and then as you turn the steering wheel, so that it's as if you're going through the motion, like a motorcycle that like you kind of move your butt a little bit off the seat to get into that turn a little bit.
Cambot.
Yeah, you make a little bit of cambot, and inside the 370Z, you don't need to, but you feel as if that you still want to make cambot, and it's really a last, not the last, but it's a last of that kind of a car. And I don't know if they're ever going to make one again. So it being somewhat of a classic, sort of like the 650 that you just mentioned, it's a modern classic, so to speak. There's not a lot of additives in there.
But how's the comfort level?
The comfort level is nothing spectacular.
Yeah.
It is easy for a guy like myself who is under tall, but when Jack was inside the car, the first thing that he wanted to do was get out. Sort of like when you get into a beautiful mansion and you hear Jack's the first guy that says get out. So he was out, and he just wanted out of that thing. He wanted out and lunch. Basically, that's all that he wanted.
Are there back seats?
There are no back seats, but there's a sub. So you can feel. So you've got.
Bumabayaw ba?
Bumabayo.
Bumabayaw.
You may be uncomfortable, but you look good and feel good while being uncomfortable. But it's really what an experience. It's the machine itself and the total package. It's a little bit on the expensive side, but as the year ends, it is definitely a special mention to my top 5 drives. And the reason why it's a special mention is because what takes it out of the top 5 is the Supra. It's got to be the Supra.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely put the Supra ahead of that.
It was this thing. The Supra was just spinning on second and third gear, man. I don't know how it did that. The seating is very comfortable. You're not tired whether you're on long drives or in traffic, because we did get stuck in traffic in it. And I guess the comfort of it all is very different because essentially it's a quote-unquote BMW, which a lot of people are upset about. But really, if it wasn't because of BM, the collaboration of BM and Toyota on this, then we wouldn't have this beautiful car that we lust over. And we actually enjoyed it so much that we spent almost all of our budget for a month on just driving this car on gasoline and tolls because we were just taking it in and out of the
That's why I didn't shoot for about a month.
Well,
That's why I was stuck in the studio for a month.
We don't necessarily need to talk about these things, but yeah. So in place of the 370Z, which is going to be on my special mention, it's got to be the Supra that is going to be on the top 5 list, because the drive of that car was really enjoyable. And Jack, who is as you can tell, he's a larger person as myself. He was definitely a heck of a lot more comfortable in the Supra than he was in the 370Z.
Huh. But okay, so I've played around with the Supra a little bit during the VS Cup, because there's a Supra there.
Yes, correct.
For us to
Mess around with.
Well, not us, but I know people that kind of just let me mess around with it, and it's a really impressive car.
It is. It is.
It's just. I mean, the Supra has been one of my dream cars when I was still living in the States, and every time I see it, and people always wonder why that, like why isn't it a Porsche? Why isn't it a Ferrari? I don't know. There's something about that Supra, the old school ones with a high. With a high spoiler back in the day.
I'll tell you this about the new Supra though. It looks the furthest that it can be from the previous Supras, which is way some people might actually be upset about this particular car.
I was about to ask you about that, because of the styling is kind of it's
European, it's not Japanese.
Yeah, so it's kind of taken away from that whole.
I guess, yeah, but see, the whole point of the Supra was to create an automobile that rode and drove well. So the previous shape and the previous technology that they had put in it, which was great back then, they've come up with newer and better ways to do it. And in today's standards and of people that want to be able to have a performance automobile, that's the shape and form that they came out with. Who are we to be? We're not engineers, right?
Sure.
So this is.
But I even though I love that car, I just wanted to see a little bit more
of the old school,
of the old in it.
You sound like Bocci Santos, man. Because Bocci loves his Supra.
Yeah, I mean it's a great car. It has great history. It has a great history with it too.
It sounds great. That's
I'm
right.
a sucker.
The gurgle is really.
It does? I'm a sucker for bikes and cars that have history, that have a story to tell.
Okay.
And the Supra has an interesting one. It has that heritage.
Yes.
Maybe that's what it is. I am a sentimental person.
Aww.
And it's just something that I get drawn to, even when with objects that have no life, like cars and bikes.
Okay, I was like, objects that have no life.
Cars and bikes.
This guy's necrophiliac, dude. What?
But yeah, no. Great choice though. Great choice. I honestly, I remember watching that video that you guys made, and I'm like, I wish I went with them.
It was a lot of fun to be in that car. It was, I think the one that really loved that car the most was gotta be Earl. I mean, I'm sad when we have to return cars, but when we returned the Supra, I think Earl took it the hardest. I mean, he was really hit by that. He was like, don't take it away. What? Say it again.
When he dropped off the Supra.
When he dropped off the Supra, he picked up a Wigo.
Mas bagay ka Earl yun.
That sucks. That sucks. Wait, he literally dropped off the Supra and picked up a Wigo. That sucks. Oh my God, that sucks. So do you still have any more honorable mentions?
No, those are my 2 honorable mentions.
Okay, so then let's start you off with your top 5 list.
Top 5. In my top 5, in no specific order.
Yeah.
This bike replaced the scooter that I'm about to mention.
Replaced the Vespa.
I was going to put the Vespa in there, and I'm like, nah, I think I would put this one instead.
So it took out the Sprint 150.
It took out the Sprint 150.
Okay.
In a way, it kind of took out the RE too, the Royal Enfield.
Okay.
And it's a bike that
it took out 2 bikes.
Sort of, because it kind of like you can get sort of both of those, what you get from those two bikes with this.
Yeah.
Except you can't take this on the expressway.
Okay. Okay.
This is the one bike here in the top 5 that I cannot take on the expressway, but I just love that it's so easy to use. Likewise, I have friends who are starting to learn how to ride, and they're using this bike to learn how to ride on.
Is it rude if I just say shut up and tell me what the bike is already? Come on, I'm interested.
It's the XSR155.
Oh, that's pretty too.
It's such a pretty bike because it looks like the bigger siblings.
Yes.
It looks like my bike.
Yes, it's true. Don't they also say that the 155 also has like a specific light that's better? Or
Yeah, so it has LED. So the 700 doesn't come with the LED headlights.
Odd.
So it's weird. So my 900 has LED headlights already, and it has even the auxiliary lights as well.
Yeah.
But it does look like it looks like the bigger siblings, the 700 and 900.
It does.
Which is why I kind of like it more than the Vespa. Right? It kind of takes the place of that. Sure, it's it's a 155. You can't take on the expressway. But it's not like it's slow. It's not like for a 150cc bike, it does have power, right? Mm-hmm. Does it match the power of the 700 and 900? Absolutely
hell not, man.
But
It's like 1/5.
But for what it is, it's okay. The price is a little bit, in my opinion, could be lower, but that's why there's no ABS, and that's another gripe I have about it. There's no ABS on the bike.
Do you really
the
need
one here?
ABS on a 155cc?
Yes, you do. I think you
Seriously?
need ABS on any bike out there. You should.
Does the Sprint have ABS?
Yes.
No, wait a minute.
It
Did
does.
you just say yes?
Yes, it does.
It does.
It does.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's my one thing. If I were to complain about the bike, is that it needs ABS. Now, I also want to point out that this bike, the review of this bike that we made, a video, is also the most watched video on MotoDeal. Close to 1 million views. All the people out there in India, hello. I'm sorry, we are not Yamaha. We will not. We have no control of whether Yamaha will bring this bike to India or not.
They're asking you. I saw that. Some people were asking you guys, when are you guys bringing this to India?
I don't know. I'm not Yamaha, and I don't live in India.
We are AutoDeal.com.ph and AutoDeal.com.ph. We just review these bikes for you. If you do, however, live in the Philippines or would like to purchase a motorcycle and give it to someone in the Philippines, we've got those facilities on our website.
Absolutely.
But for Jinno to control what cars or motorcycles rather that are going to go to India, that's a stretch.
Yeah, we can't do that.
The 155, I gotta say though, when I first saw it in just photos, not in person, drool, man.
It's gorgeous.
It's absolute. It's like you put the 900 or is it the 700 or 750?
900, 700.
900 to 700. You put it inside a dryer with like bound sheets and whatnot. You get the pint-sized cute version. And the first thing that I thought to myself was like, Caco, kaya mo yan. Pwede. Abot mo yan.
You could. I could see you writing that.
It could. But again, it's what you said. It's exactly what you said. That I already have a scooter that I use for inside town. So if I were to get a motorcycle of such, it would be pointless because then I'd want a motorcycle that I could take out on the highway.
And that's where the RE comes in.
That's where the RE comes in. But for this 155, it's just pretty.
But here's the thing, right? If you are gago.
Who, me?
Not Caco. If you were gago.
Oh, okay.
You could conceivably
don't say it, man. That's awful.
Fool people in the toll.
Dude.
And look, I'm not suggesting you do it, but I'm just suggesting because the bike looks like it's a big bike.
We understand that the points and the views of anybody that's speaking here does not reflect the points and the views of AutoDeal.com.ph or MotoDeal.com.ph.
Absolutely not. But one of our riders, Earl, almost inadvertently, he was trying to get out of the where it merges to the expressway.
Oh my!
He was trying to get out. He almost missed it, and then the guy right before the toll, said, "Oh, pwede na, tuloy-tuloy." And then Earl's like, "No, this is a 150cc bike."
So Earl was being honest.
Earl was being honest. Like, he didn't want to get on the expressway, although the guy was telling him to go. And Earl was like, no, I cannot get on the expressway.
So kaya.
Kaya.
Pero wag.
Wag.
Stop
Kaya.
laughing. I'm not gonna do it. Relax.
Kaya, pero wag. Right.
But that's
It's a good looking bike.
It is.
It needs ABS. And if you could possibly find a way to get find the ABS and then make it still the price range that it is, because I know if you put the ABS in there, it might reach 200,000 or so, and I think Yamaha was really trying to bring it down. Bring the price down, and that's why the units here don't have ABS. I do understand there are units around Southeast Asia that come with ABS.
So there are,
but not the ones in the Philippines.
Do you think they'll ever bring the ABS model in?
Maybe, but they have to find a way to make the pricing a little bit competitive.
And voila, if the price is already like
so
that.
I don't know what else can be done with it to lower to keep the price where it is, or at least in the vicinity where it is, under 200,000. But that's my one thing about it that probably will deter people, that it's a little bit on the pricey side. Again, because 150cc, and you're close to 200,000.
So I guess it would be like the same thing, and also 150cc Vespa or 100.
Parang ganun. That's why it overtook the Sprint.
Okay.
It's cheaper than the Sprint. It's more affordable.
It's more affordable than the Sprint, and it can fool people to get on the highway. So these are the two things that are very, very important when purchasing a motorcycle. If it can fool people at the toll gate, and if it's more affordable than the Vespa.
But and it's also fun. Like, there's a thing about riding slow bikes fast that's more fun than riding fast bikes slow.
Say that again.
So it's a 150cc, but it's fun to ride it fast, right?
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting to go faster than the speed limit, but it's nice to open the throttle and know that you're in control and know that you're going to be able to handle the bike.
Yeah.
It's more fun to be in the limit.
It's more fun to be on the limit than it is to, to tame and baby a bike. To give you an example, I still baby my XSR900.
Okay.
Especially when I'm in around the city.
Well, because that's a lot of power.
Yeah, and then the torque on the 900 is insane. So you need to tame it. You need to ride it a little bit chill.
Yeah.
And you have to be conscious about it, right? So because you can get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, also because I'm not saying that you're definitely a capable rider, but you're babying it for a reason, because you're riding inside the city where the streets aren't the safest things on the planet, and the proximity of how we drive to each other is much, much closer.
Absolutely. And that's why I do it. And that's why I really ride that bike, which is a lot of power. I ride it more closer to a 700 than I do a 900.
I see. Okay.
Unless I'm on the track, unless I'm out on the open road. So that's the only time I really, I don't even want to say maximize, but that's the only time I would say that I really get to enjoy it a little bit for what it can do. Otherwise, if I'm on EDSA or even to a certain extent SLEX and NLEX,
you're bound.
Yeah, a little bit. So I try to control it. So having said that, with the 155, you want to max it out, right? You want to see how far you can go and how much it performs.
Okay.
And that's why it needs the ABS.
Sort of like to keep you in check kind of a thing when you do max it out and you open the throttle as much as you can. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a fun bike. It's a great beginner bike. I can totally see like it being the first bike of people. Especially if they want to get into the big bike and you want to move up.
So it's definitely a starter. It's
Absolutely.
a good starter bike.
It's a great starter bike because you get used to the size. Of course, it's lighter than the 700 and 900.
Of course.
But you get used to the size, the height, shifting gears, and all that kind of stuff. And from there, you can graduate maybe to the 700 or a different bike that's a bigger displacement. So you can move on from that. But it's a fun. If there was a bike out there that I would recommend a new rider to start riding, to learn on, it would be that.
Definitely this bike.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so Jinno and I have been talking about our top 5 favorite rides and drives of the year, and we actually thought we were going to get through our entire list in one show. Unfortunately, we are running a little short on time.
Short.
So I'm sorry, can you bleep this out? You dickhead. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to cut it short. Here we go again with the short. We're going to end it right here, and we're going to continue this beautiful discussion of this topic next week. Do join us again next week, where we're going to continue on our top 5 list. I've gone through a couple of, shall we say, honorable mentions.
You have your Geely, which made it to the top 5.
Yes, I have. What made it to my top 5 would be my Geely, the Ford F-150, and the Supra. These have made it to my top 5 with honorable mentions to the 370Z and the Ford Territory.
Okay.
So I've got my top 2 left to go.
I have top 3.
You have a top 3, and I've still got one honorable mention that I'd like to mention next. Honorable mention that I'd like to mention. Am I redundant or what?
Sorry, I have top 4 because I had two honorable mentions.
You had 2 honorable mentions, and you've mentioned
The XSR.
The XSR. So that was your very first entry into your top 5 list.
So I still have 4 to go.
Still have 4 to go. So we're gonna discuss Jinno's 4 of his top 5 and my 2 of my top 5 list next week. Thank you for joining us. This has been Caco on behalf of Jinno Rufino. This was Torque of the Town, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. powered by Podcast Network Asia. Stay safe. We'll see you. No, we'll listen to you.
You'll hear us next week.
You'll hear us next week. I gotta work on that, man. I seriously gotta work on that. Peace. This has been Torque of the Town, a podcast produced by AutoDeal and MotoDeal. To learn more about our products and services, head on over to AutoDeal.com.ph and or MotoDeal.com.ph, as well as our social media pages and our YouTube channels. Torque of the Town is powered by Podcast Network Asia and Podmetrics. See you Wednesdays at 10 a.m.
The views and opinions expressed by the podcast creators, hosts, and guests do not necessarily reflect the official policy and position of Podcast Network Asia. Any content provided by the people on the podcast are of their own opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.